everyone, and welcome to the All Things ITSM Global Podcast. I'm Kirsty McGowan, and I'm here today with Carlos Casanova.
Hey, Kirsty.
And Mark Smalley.
Hi there.
And today we're talking with Charlie Betz. Hi, Charlie. Nice to have you back.
Hi, Kirsty. Good to be back.
Hey, Charlie. How you doing?
Wonderful.
Good. Hey, Charlie. So I know you've been out and about traveling a little bit, and but you just recently got back from, I believe, West Coast, San Francisco, was it? And
Yep.
What is the annual Open Group meeting? So I know that obviously you're heavily involved in them, and IT for IT and stuff like that. So what happened out there? What's the good news?
Well, it was a great event, and actually these meetings are quarterly.
Oh, okay.
We've got quite an aggressive cadence for developing this standard. So we meet quarterly. We'll be meeting again in London in April and Austin, Texas in July, and Paris in late October. So it's one of the things with the open group meetings that we go to good places, but not necessarily during the high season. So
yeah, I was gonna say, how do you pick the nice cool weather of Texas and the dry weather of Paris like that?
Yeah. Well, I'm not the one who's booking them, but they're always great events. They're hundreds of people, not thousands. These are very much working events. We are in a room. We're hashing out various aspects of the standards. There are various working groups meeting on topics like adoption and the IT asset working group, which I'm co-leading with Jim Caruso, who's the IT asset manager at Boeing. We have an IT financial management working group being led by a partner from Accenture, and his being contributed to by his team, Philippe Genest. It's very much, these are very, get down to business, roll up your sleeves, argue about different aspects of the standard, and hopefully come to some consensus as to what we think the best representation of the problems are. And we also had our first Train the Trainer event, which I actually was privileged to be the presenter for that. So we had a number of individuals from various training firms in the room studying the material, and in part to assess whether they think that this is a reasonable offering for their firms. And then a number of them went and took the beta of the IT for IT course exam. And I'm pleased to say that even after my trying to confuse them and train the trainer for 3 hours, they all passed the test.
Well, you shouldn't have given them a free cheat, right?
Well, they weren't allowed to bring any paper in. So,
oh, okay.
Yeah, but I did give them some helpful pointers, and it was a nice spread. I mean, we had the minimum passing score was passing mark was 75, and I think the passing grades ranged from 76 to 96. So it's a good spread, which we like to see. We
Sure.
kind of wonder if everybody was getting 100. That would.
And
So,
as an educator, right, that's not something you want to have all the time, right?
No, you want a nice spread, and so that people are being challenged. But it was good that the potential trainers were able to wrap their heads around the material with a little additional study, I think. And of course, a lot of them had been exposed to it already. We had some awesome keynotes. So of course, the keynote was Microsoft talking about IT for IT and how it fits into their strategy. We had the service manager responsible for IT services for Office 365, Kathleen Wilson, co-led the Tuesday morning keynote with Ryan Schmier from Microsoft, who is essentially the IT for IT architect for Microsoft's internal IT, which is, of course, a rather large organization, with 100,000 or so internal users. And then we had a panel discussion with which I was so excited to see. We had Shell, we had Microsoft, we had ServiceNow, we had HP, we had CC&C, a smaller consultancy, Mike Fulton, who's been very active. And it was just really exciting to see Microsoft and ServiceNow as well as HP, who've been real stalwarts in this, So we're really starting to see the industry uptake expand in the standard, which is very exciting.
Yeah, it's really encouraging to see the amount of interest, not only on the trainers as you mentioned, but also looking at the publications. Our friends at Van Haren, who do the IT for IT publications, reported a great number of downloads of the sales of the new stuff. So it's really good. Charlie, although we as four individuals here have been following IT for IT for a while, I realize that many people won't know what it's exactly all about. So could you just give us a quick, give us the elevator pitch? What's IT for IT?
Sure. IT for IT is a architecture, a business, you could call it a business architecture for the business of IT. It is vendor neutral and product neutral. It's language neutral. It's protocol neutral. It's at a higher level than all of the wire format kinds and programming language kinds of standards. But it actually specifies with a degree of precision questions like, what is the data we expect the project management system to handle? How does that relate to release management, to change management, to event management? In some ways, you can look at IT for IT as the conceptual architecture that would arise if you treated ITIL and COBIT as a statement of requirements. So if you take ITIL and COBIT and guidance at that level as kind of a statement of the business problem in narrative terms, from an architecture or a delivery perspective, the next thing you would do would be to develop a conceptual architecture. Well, it turns out that everybody needs that conceptual architecture, whether you're in banking or in the energy sector. And so why keep redeveloping it? Companies keep having to redevelop it over and over again. Now, if this sounds a little specialized or maybe something that only big companies would be interested in, one of the things we're seeing with digital transformation is that more and more companies of all sizes need to have a clear understanding of the IT delivery pipeline. And in fact, that's one of the very active areas of work within IT for IT, is discussing how and developing guidance on how it applies to companies of all sizes. You don't need all of it if you're a smaller company, but there are certain things that we believe companies of any size will need, such as source control and build management and package management.
Right.
Yeah, so it helps IT shops finally run IT as a business.
Exactly, exactly. And
yeah,
it's comparable.
We've been talking about for a long time.
Yes. Yes, and as we see business verticals evolve, we see these kinds of architectures evolve in other verticals, which is why I feel very confident about IT for IT, because it's really no different than what the Telemanagement Forum has been doing for years with ETOM, the Enhanced Telecom Operating Model, and some of the corollary guidance like NGOS and frameworks. We have the National Retail Federation. They've been sponsoring an outfit called the Association for Retail Technology Standards. They've developed a very detailed and precise data model for the business of retail, and there's similar work going on in insurance and banking and other industry verticals. So it really is nothing radical or all that new. It's what mature industry verticals, and in this case we're talking about industry horizontal in the case of IT, but it's what you see in industry sectors as they mature.
I believe at the last count we had about 40 or 50 partners involved. Do you know what the current count is?
It, I believe, is closer to 60, pushing 70 is the last I heard, and I think the downloads are up to 5,000 of the core standard. So we really do have a lot of global interest in the standard and in the activity. It's very exciting. I think one of the most gratifying parts for me was we had breakouts in the afternoon, and the IT for IT breakout session was just jammed. I mean, it was literally standing room only. I tweeted out a picture of it, and the interesting thing was that Lars Rossen, Carol Van Seeland, and myself were not speaking, and we're kind of, the three of us have presented a lot on IT for IT, Lars is, of course, the HP CTO who's been involved from day one, and Carol is the representative from Shell, who, in many ways gets a lot of credit for getting this going. And we were all just kicking back, and other folks are stepping forward and presenting the standard with passion and enthusiasm and a great degree of apparent expertise. And we looked at each other, we said, this thing has arrived, it's unstoppable. We have a critical mass here of people who see value in it and who are committed to it and are able to articulate it, which is so exciting.
Right.
Yeah, that was good. Just speaking about workshops, I noticed that you're on the bill at, I think we're going to be bumping into each other 2 or 3 times the first half of the year. You're in the Netherlands for the Service Management Day. I think that's March, and I think you're doing a workshop there as well?
Yes, I am. We're still hammering out the workshop. It almost certainly will be IT for IT, and I believe I'm going to be doing it with Rob Akershuk, who's been working with Shell, and also with Rob also contributed to the, I'm going to get the bank wrong. It's not Rabobank. Another significant a financial sector case study that's publicly available about IT for IT. And then, of course, Norway. Which will be in April. I'll be over in Norway, and then I come home for a week, and then I'll be back for the London meeting of IT for IT. So I'll be bouncing back and forth across the Atlantic.
Yeah, you'll be clocking out those air miles this year then, Charlie.
Yeah. That's.
So Charlie, let me ask you something. I mean, I'm fairly familiar with it and stuff, and maybe some. Some folks listening to podcasts, maybe have heard it. So you said there's hundreds at the conference that you had, the quarterly. Is that something that any person can go and get involved? Is it something that they need to kind of brush up on things beforehand? How does that work for somebody that's maybe like, hey, this is interesting, and I'd like to get more involved? How does that play out day to day and from a conference perspective?
Right. It's a great question, and we need to be fairly precise about this because we're actually, what the Open Group is doing is I think a maturation of, kind of the participatory side of IT. And I'm going to have to go down the rabbit hole a little bit with you, so if you guys will kind of bear with me.
That's why we asked at the early part of the podcast.
Yeah, exactly. So the Open Group events, the quarterly Open Group events, are both open conferences and working sessions for the various forums, including the Architecture Forum and the IT for IT Forum and other forums that you typically won't hear as much about, such as the FACE Consortium, the Archimate the forum, and the real-time forum. Actually, I don't know if FACE is typically host to the quarterly things. Doesn't matter. Anyways, these forums, you have to be a member of the forums, and the forum is a consortium model. So you don't join the forum as an individual, you join it as an organization. Now, you can be an organization of one, you can be a company of one, but you do need to buy in. And this is just how the Open Group model works. It's also similar to the Object Management Group. We've tried many things in IT as far as building standards and developing professional consensus. And in an ideal world, it would be free and completely frictionless. But I think that the reality is that significant standards of this nature are best developed through a consortium model. And I can point to examples in telecommunications, in banking, in retail. I mean, this is how this kind of work gets done. It's how you can have a successful business model to do it. Now, the entry-level cost is not that great. I believe a silver membership for one forum for a very small company is, I think, on the order of $2,500 a year, which might seem like a lot, but on the other hand, it gives you license to use the material. And so if part of your business model includes perhaps making money off of the material, then this is a cost of doing business. There's any of a number of critiques that one might make, but at the end of the day, I just would say that there's only a limited number of models that have shown themselves successful at all in doing work of this nature, and this is the model we use.
Okay.
And there was a conversation on Back to ITSM, I think, a couple of weeks ago on the licensing model. So if you're wanting to use the standard just in your own in a business, not for profit, are there any costs involved with that, Charlie?
No, and that's where I really appreciate the open group model, and this is part of the reason why I was very supportive of going into the open group, is I was involved in that, helping take those decisions. If you are a architect or an IT service management practitioner within a company, and you want to use IT for IT to develop architectures for use within your company, not for an external market, you're free to do so. And the licensing is absolutely clear and unambiguous on this. You do not need to pay any fee. The material is free. You go to the web, you download it, you use it, you evaluate it. If you are a trainer or a consultant, or you want to write books or do value-add kinds of work that you're going to monetize, then you need to help contribute to the furthering of the standard, which I think is entirely fair and reasonable.
Yeah, it sounds pretty fair to me.
Yeah.
So yes, that makes sense. I mean, so it actually sounds like, even from an individual perspective, if they have, if they're working through maybe getting an organization or their organization involved, and we know that doesn't necessarily always happen, overnight. They still have the full opportunity to download the stuff, basically get totally up to speed with it, and maybe not being, partaking in, the events and workshops, but they can be fully up to the speed by the time their organization decides yes or no that they're going to actually participate.
And they can go to the event, and they can attend the public workshops, which in the case of the last conference were all on Tuesday, so Monday and Tuesday. And I would say you'd probably focus on the Tuesday, and the open group's very consistent in how these things happen. So the Tuesday is the public face. You buy a one-day pass, you come, you attend all the public-facing sessions, you talk to the people, and at that point, if you have feedback on the standard, you can certainly raise it. And you go back to, XYZ Motor Company or ABC Pharmaceutical, and there you are. You can use the standard. You've had some exposure to it, and you can run with it. Now, why then would XYZ Motor or ABC Pharmaceutical actually join the open group? Well, it's so that you can then have an influence on where the standard is going to go. You can still have an influence even as somebody just showing up casually, and if you have well thought out points of view, and you can convince people of them, then they may take them forward for you. Or you develop a relationship with somebody who is in the forum, then they can take your point of view forward for you. So there's at least an indirect feedback loop. But if you want to have direct participation in the sausage making, then you do need to buy in. Now, it can be a hard business case to make for somebody who is in a non-IT company, as I say, like a motor company, pharmaceutical, insurance. But I will make this case for you. It's amazing staff development. For those of us who might get tired of the big conferences where it seems like you've heard it all before, to be in a room with practitioners and vendors and consultants who are wrestling with the toughest problems in the space of IT management and actually creating the next generation of intellectual property, or actually open guidance is the better term. It's a tremendously valuable educational opportunity to do that, and entirely justifiable expenditure of staff development resources.
Well, thanks, Charlie. It's been great talking to you again today. I mean, it's always a pleasure that you've got so much knowledge to share with us. It's always a great podcast when we've got you on. So people can see you in many places around the world speaking this year, I imagine. So there'll be plenty of opportunities to share that wisdom on a closer, at a closer level than listening to this recording. But I'm sure we'll have a chance to speak again very shortly. So thanks a lot for your time this morning. Thanks, Carlos. Thanks, Mark.
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah,
always a pleasure.
Have a great day, guys.